Welcome back, Deep Divers. Today, we're diving headfirst into the world of AI, specifically a new model called Janus Pro. We've got a pretty dense technical report to unpack, but we're going to pull out all the cool stuff and make it, fun size for you.
Yeah, it's really exciting stuff. We're talking about an AI that's not just trying to be good at one thing. It's aiming to master a whole bunch of skills that usually you need separate AIs for.
So before we get too far ahead of ourselves, what is Janus Pro exactly? What can it actually do?
So basically, Janice Pro can both understand and generate content, especially images and text. Like, imagine showing it a photo and asking it a question about it. Well, it can actually analyze the image and give you a detailed answer, but it could also go the other way. You give it some text, like a description, and it can create a really realistic image based on what you said.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's like an AI that can read and write, but with pictures instead of just words.
Exactly. And what's wild is that it's built on an older model called Janus, but it's already, like, way better. It's even beating some of the bigger, more complex AI models out there.
Oh, so it's like a David and Goliath situation in the AI world, huh? I see the report mentions 3 key improvements that make Janus Pro so special. Do you want to break those down?
Yeah, definitely. They focused on a smarter training strategy, feeding it tons more data, and then actually making the model itself bigger. All of these really play a big part in why it's so much better. And maybe we could start with a training strategy, because that's where it gets interesting.
Okay, yeah, I'm all ears. So it sounds like they didn't just like throw a ton of information at it and hope for the best, right?
Exactly. Instead of trying to teach Janus Pro everything at once, they kind of made the process more efficient. It's kind of like, when you study for a test. You learn more if you focus on specific chapters instead of trying to cram the entire textbook the night before.
Oh, I see. So it's like they gave Janus Pro a study schedule. Like, okay, today we're going to learn about images. Tomorrow we're going to focus on making text.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And the researchers actually found that this focused training, it led to much better performance.
Yeah.
It suggests that future AIs might become even more efficient if we use this kind of targeted learning strategy.
That's really interesting. It's almost like AI is like mirroring how humans learn. But what about the data itself? I bet they fed Janus Pro a ton of information.
Yeah, you're not wrong. They really expanded the data set compared to the older version. I mean, we're talking 90 million new samples for the understanding tasks and 72 million new images for generation. Think about that. Millions of pictures and text examples. It can even understand stuff like tables, charts, documents, even memes.
Memes. Okay, now that's impressive. But hold on, how do they actually make the model itself bigger? Does that mean, like, the program takes up more space on a computer or something?
Well, not really. When we talk about model size in AI, it's more about how complex its internal network is. It's kind of like adding more connections in a brain, which lets it learn faster and process things better. The report doesn't get too technical about how many billions of parameters the model has, but the main point is that making the model bigger means it learns much faster and just performs better overall.
So it's not just about how much information it gets, but also the model's ability to actually, like, absorb and process it all, right? More connections, more learning power. Got it.
But with all these improvements, what kind of results are we actually talking about here? What can Janus Pro really do that's so impressive?
One of the most exciting areas is what we call multimodal understanding.
Ooh, that sounds complicated.
It's actually simpler than it sounds.
Yeah.
Think about it this way. We, as humans, can take in information from a lot of different sources, right? What we see, hear, read, and we understand how they all relate to each other. Janus Pro is starting to do that too. Oh, okay. So it's not just looking at pictures or text separately. It's understanding how they connect and like work together.
Yeah, exactly. Like, imagine showing Janus Pro a picture of, say, a busy street, and you ask it something complex like how many people are wearing red shirts and carrying a bag. It can look at the picture and understand your question and actually give you an accurate answer.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like it really understands what's happening in the picture, not just, identifying objects.
And here's the crazy part. They have these tests, like benchmarks, they call them, to evaluate this multimodal understanding. And Janus Pro actually did better than some of the other top models, even some that were much bigger and more complex.
Whoa, so it's not just keeping up, it's actually beating them in some cases. Okay, yeah, I can see why people are excited about this. But what about the image generation side of things? What kind of pictures can Janus Pro actually create?
Well, now that's where things get really interesting. We'll dive into that right after.
Oh, right after this quick break, we'll be right back.
So where were we? Ah, yes, image generation. It can create some really realistic images just from a text description. You just give it a detailed scene and boom, it basically paints that scene for you digitally.
So if I told it to, like, draw a fluffy cat wearing a tiny hat sitting on a stack of pancakes, it could actually make that image.
Yeah, pretty much. It can handle pretty complex instructions and generate images that are surprisingly realistic, yeah.
There's one thing, though, a limitation. It's still working with limited resolution. So, like, the finer details might not be super sharp, like a photograph.
Right, right. So it's like a talented artist who's still working on those tiny brushstrokes. Okay, that makes sense. Resolution, yeah, I can see that being a challenge, but it sounds like they're getting some impressive results even with that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And they actually measure those results using these standardized tests. They're called benchmarks, and they're made to, like, see how well AI models can create images from text.
Oh, so it's like an art exam for AI. Exactly. And there are two main benchmarks that the report mentions, JNeval and TPG Bench. JNeval looks at how well the AI can identify different objects in an image, how they're related, and even things like counting objects or describing them. DBG Bench, though, that one's tougher. It uses these really, really detailed prompts to challenge the AI.
So instead of just saying, like, draw a cat, it's more like, draw a tabby cat with a mischievous grin sitting on a windowsill overlooking a rainy Parisian street. All the little details,
Right,
right?
And the really amazing thing is that Janus Pro actually scored higher than some of the big names in AI image generation, like DALL-E 3 and Stable Diffusion, on these tough tests.
Wow, that's putting things into perspective. That is no small feat, outperforming those established models. But how did Janus Pro achieve these results, especially since it's still relatively small, compared to some of the giants out there?
That's a great question. And it really shows the power of those improvements we talked about earlier. Remember how they focused on training Janus Pro more efficiently? Like a student who, studies smarter, not harder.
Really, yeah, the focus training.
Right, that targeted learning approach.
Yeah.
Along with that much bigger data set, that lets Janus Pro really, punch above its weight. It's not just about raw processing power anymore. It's about using what you have in a smarter way.
So it's a testament to both the design of the model and the training strategies they use. It's pretty clever. But let's go back to that resolution thing for a sec. The report mentioned it affects both image understanding and generation. It's kind of like trying to read a blurry text message. You can kind of get the main idea, but you might miss some important details.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why resolution is such a key area for future development. Like for understanding images, if the resolution's limited, Janus Pro might miss little details that are actually important for some task.
Yeah.
And for generation, well, the images might be impressive, but they can lack that really crisp, photorealistic look.
So how are the researchers planning to deal with this resolution hurdle? Is it just a matter of, like, throwing more computing power at it?
Well, it's not quite that simple, although, yeah, better hardware will definitely help. The researchers think the real key is refining how the model is built and how it's trained so it can handle those higher resolution images better. Kind of like upgrading both the lens and the processing power of a camera, to capture a sharper image.
So it's a combination of both hardware and software improvements. Makes sense. But even with this resolution issue, I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with what Janus Pro can do already. It really feels like we're right on the edge of something huge in AI.
I agree. And it's worth remembering that Janus Pro is just one example of the amazing progress that's happening. We're seeing breakthroughs all the time. It's incredible.
It's both exciting and honestly a bit daunting, right? It's like standing on the edge of a new frontier and not knowing what you're going to find. But before we get too lost in the future, the report also mentioned this thing called visual encoding decoupling. Now that sounds really technical. Can you break that down for us?
I can try. It's actually a pretty cool idea. Think about how our brains, process visual information. When we just look at something, we're taking in the whole picture, the colors, the shapes, the layout. But if we're trying to find a specific object or answer a question about the scene, then we focus in on details.
So it's like switching between a wide-angle lens and a zoom lens, right? Depending on what you want to see.
Exactly. And that's basically what visual encoding decoupling does for Janus Pro. It uses kind of separate lenses, you could say, for understanding images and for generating them. That way, the model can be really good at each task instead of trying to do both with the same approach.
Oh, that's clever. So instead of forcing the AI to wear the same pair of glasses for everything, they've given it a whole toolbox of lenses to choose from.
That's a great way to put it. And that's one thing that makes Janus Pro different from other AI models. Some of them try to use the same encoding method for both understanding and generating, and that often leads to compromises.
Yeah, it's like asking a chef to use the same knife for chopping vegetables and filleting a fish, not very efficient. So by separating these processes, Janus Pro can really master both understanding and generation. But all this talk about AI creating realistic images, doesn't that raise some concerns about misuse? Could someone use this technology to create misleading or even harmful content?
It's a really, really important question, and it's something that everyone in the AI research community is thinking about a lot. Anytime you have powerful technology, there's always the potential for misuse. It's something we have to be very careful about as AI gets more advanced.
It's like giving someone superpowers but not teaching them how to use them responsibly. Not a good idea. So while we're excited about all this progress, it's important to remember that there could be some downsides too. It's kind of a double-edged sword. But let's shift gears for a bit. What about the real-world applications of a model like Janus Pro? It seems like this could have a real impact on our lives, you know? Can you give us some concrete examples of how it could be used?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the possibilities are just mind-blowing when you really start to think about it. We're talking about an AI that can understand images, create visuals from text, and even, answer questions about what it sees. It's incredible.
Okay, I'm sold. Paint me a picture then of a world with Janus Pro in it. What kind of impact could it have?
Okay, well, let's start with medicine, for example. Imagine Janus Pro analyzing medical images, like x-rays or scans. It could help doctors make more accurate diagnoses.
So it's like having an AI doctor working side by side with human doctors, offering a second opinion.
Exactly. And since Janus Pro can understand both images and text, it could even look at patient records and research papers to give doctors the most up-to-date info and potential treatments.
Wow, that would be a total game changer. What about other fields, though? Could Janus Pro be used outside of medicine?
Oh, absolutely. Take education, for instance. Janus Pro could create personalized learning experiences, tailoring lessons to each student's needs.
So instead of a one-size-fits-all approach, everyone would get a learning experience that works best for them.
That's amazing. And what about the creative fields? There must be some crazy possibilities there.
Oh, you're right. Janus Pro could be a huge help for artists, designers, writers, anyone who works with visual or textual content. It would be amazing.
It's like an AI muse that can help you come up with new ideas and bring your vision to life. But I got to ask, with all this talk about the potential of AI, how do you see AI and human intelligence interacting in the future? Is it going to be more like a collaboration or a competition? That is the million-dollar question. And it's something that people are still trying to figure out. I think the most likely and the best scenario is one of collaboration.
So AI and humans working together, each, playing to your strengths.
Exactly. AI is awesome at things that need like a lot of processing power, data analysis, finding patterns. But humans, we bring creativity, empathy, critical thinking, that intuition that AI just doesn't have.
It's like a dynamic duo, each bringing their own superpowers to the table. And that actually makes me think back to those limitations we talked about before.
Oh, yeah. I see where you're going with this.
If AI and humans are going to work together, maybe some of those limitations, like the resolution thing, become less of a problem.
You're right. Like with image generation, for instance. Maybe the AI doesn't have to create perfectly photorealistic images if there's a human artist to, add those final touches and details.
Right. It's not about replacing human creativity. It's about enhancing it. And who knows, maybe as AI gets better, it might even inspire us to be more creative, pushing the boundaries even further.
That's a really interesting idea. AI as a creative catalyst, a muse for human innovation.
But let's not get too carried away with our AI daydreams just yet. We're still in the early stages of all this, and there are a lot of challenges ahead.
Oh, absolutely. And one of those challenges is making sure we use this powerful technology responsibly and ethically.
It's not just about what AI can do, it's about what it should do.
Right. And that's going to take a lot of discussion, collaboration, and really thinking about the impact on society.
Well said. But I'm feeling optimistic. The progress we've seen, especially with models like Janus Pro, it makes me think we're on the right track. With careful planning and ethical considerations, we can use the power of AI to make things better for everyone.
I agree. But for now, let's take a moment to think about everything we've learned about Janus Pro and what it means for the future of AI and its impact on our world.
So we've covered a lot about Janus Pro. It's pretty impressive, right? All its capabilities, the limitations, and what it could mean for the future, both good and bad.
Yeah, it's been a pretty wild ride. It really shows you just how fast AI is moving these days.
Yeah, it does. It's like watching one of those time-lapse videos of a plant growing. You can practically see the progress, you know? But with all this change happening so quickly, it's good to take a step back and think about what it all means.
Definitely. Like, what does Janus Pro tell us about where AI is going? What might the future look like? And what's it going to mean for all of us?
Those are some big questions, huh? And I think it's safe to say we're like still in the early days of AI. We're just starting to see what this technology can really do.
And as with any powerful tool, there's a lot of good that can come from it, but also some big challenges to think about.
Yeah, it's like that saying, with great power comes great responsibility, right? We
Right.
gotta be aware of the potential downsides, even as we get excited about all the progress.
One thing that comes up a lot is how AI might affect jobs. As AI gets smarter, there's this worry that it could automate a lot of jobs that humans do now.
Right. That's a valid concern. But I think it's important to remember that whenever we've had big technological changes, it's always led to like shifts in the types of jobs people do. New jobs get created and even whole new industries pop up.
Exactly. The key is to adapt.
Mhm.
We need to be learning skills that complement AI, not try to compete with it directly.
It's about finding that balance where human and artificial intelligence can work together, like a team.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this rise of AI will actually create new opportunities for humans to focus on things that AI isn't good at yet. Things like creativity, critical thinking, emotional
So that's
intelligence.
not about AI replacing humans. It's about AI augmenting our abilities.
Exactly. And by doing that, it has the potential to unlock so many amazing things, progress and innovation in every field you can imagine.
From healthcare and education to the arts, yeah, the possibilities seem endless.
And Janus Pro really is a great example of that potential, right? I mean, its ability to understand complex images, create those realistic visuals, and answer questions, it's just remarkable.
It's like having an AI Swiss Army knife, ready to tackle any problem.
It is.
See?
But even as we're like blown away by all the technical stuff,
Mm.
we can't forget about the human side of things.
Right. It's up to us to make sure AI is developed and used in a way that benefits everyone.
Yeah, we need to make sure it's used ethically, responsibly, and with a focus on, improving people's lives and solving the big problems we face.
Well said. It's definitely a complex and constantly changing landscape, but it's also incredibly exciting, full of so much potential.
It is.
Well, I think that's a great place to wrap up our deep dive into Janus Pro. It's been really insightful exploring this cutting edge AI and what it could mean for the world.
I agree. And this is just the beginning, really. AI is always evolving, and we'll be here to break it all down for you, help you understand what it all means.
So stay tuned, everyone. The future of AI is full of possibilities, and we're excited to explore it all with you, one deep dive at a time.
Thanks for joining us.
And until next time, keep those brains buzzing.